Welcome to the Career Ecosystem Era in Higher Education podcast, where we explore the systemic changes colleges and universities are making to ensure every student receives the career learning they need to succeed. My name is Jeremy Padani. I'm the CEO and founder of the Career Leadership Collective, a consulting company dedicated to helping higher education transform their career ecosystems. Today, we're going to take a listen to part 2 in a series that has been really informative. The topic is conceptualizing and activating a career ecosystem with faculty. We've been discussing this topic with faculty at Metro State University in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And excited to have Monique interview once again Dr. Monica Roth-Day, who is the faculty director of the Career Readiness Project and a social work faculty at Metro State. And she's joined by one of her colleagues, Dr. Caitlin Mahoney, associate professor of psychology at Metro State. And I think you're really going to like this. But first, a couple of things about episodes on the podcast. We'll have probably 3 different types of episodes. Most of them will be me sitting down one-on-one with a leader in the field. Senior leaders at institutions are the primary that I'll sit down with. Academic leaders, VPSAs, presidents, advancement leaders, across the board, senior level leaders to say, what, why, and how are you stimulating a new and much bigger career ecosystem on your campus? And so really excited about that. Others will be where our team at the collective comes together. Monique, Nick, Eric, Sharon, and I are some combination of our consulting team to say, what are we seeing out there? We're almost weekly on the road with all institutional types, up close, listening, teaching, facilitating, talking through barriers, helping with change. We're so grateful to have been entrusted to so many institutions, and we want to break down the trends that we're seeing, and for the purpose of helping you build a truly effective career ecosystem on your campus. So one-on-one with Jeremy, team time with the collective consulting team. And then the third type of episode that we'll have is today's, where one of our staff becomes kind of a correspondent, goes out, does an interview with someone, and I'll share my thoughts and wrap around that interview. And today is that part 2 of the series on conceptualizing and activating a career ecosystem with faculty. And that with faculty is really awesome. And I love this episode. It fits one of my values. For a long time at the collective, if you've been involved with our events online or in person, or if you've ever presented, we have this value. We call it the no brag rule, meaning what we don't aspire to put forth to help the field is people who get on stage and brag about a success. Now, success is good to hear about, but we want to know about that because it's jet fuel for others, but we are more interested in the process that's behind that and the learnings behind that and how folks overcame barriers and what it took and why it became important, and so that we can all teach each other how to. And you'll see that throughout the podcast, and that will be a thread that is woven into all of our podcasts, where individuals will follow the no brag rule. Well, they really will sit down with myself or Monique or Nick or others and share how they built things. Not to steal from that "how I built this podcast" type, but wow, what a good concept, right? Let's teach others how to do something that we've done. And today is, I think, a really good one for this particular topic. One of the one of the neat things that I love about today's episode is they start talking about, what's really been motivating their faculty. And they joke a little bit about funding. And one of the things I want to really note for our community is to lead a fully embedded career ecosystem where your career learning outcomes are coming to life throughout the student experience for every student. You don't necessarily need extra funding. Now, I want to be careful here because I actually believe that when you're doing something important and it's on as critical of a topic as this, uh, it's hard to call something a priority and not fund it. So for my senior leader friends out there, it is pretty important to give some funding toward the mission of a broad career ecosystem on campus. And but I love how Monica and Caitlin talk about community, curiosity, support for each other, support for the students, and how these much bigger intrinsic motivations have been what has really been driving this. And so you'll get to see that and hear that in this interview. It was also reminded me about 7 years ago, I was workshopping some integration concepts with a college president. And we were talking about uh, having department chairs from every academic program on their campus uh, lead kind of mini communities of practice where they could integrate. And I said, you could provide each of those who lead that small community of practice within each department, provide them with a stipend. He goes, "What's the total cost on that?" I said, "Well, probably about $50,000." And he said, "Are you serious?" So I can invite faculty to bring forth their ideas, incentivize them on a yearly basis for less than the cost of one career coach? I said, "Absolutely." He's like, "This seems like a no-brainer." And it was when the lights turned on, I thought, oh, of course it is a no-brainer. Yes, it is. This is the work we need to be doing. We can provide that very small, less than the cost of one person, incentives to do minimal integration work that's a big impact for students and something that's actually quite inspiring and adds value for the faculty. So today is a day I've been waiting for a long time. Not today like December something 2025 or whatever, but the topic that we're discussing where faculty share how they are doing it well, how they are actually embedding career learning into their context. It's been happening at a rapid pace and increasing measure across the country, and we're going to keep showcasing this. And I'm excited for you to really dig in and take a listen. So let's do that right now and listen to the interview with Monique Frost and Dr. Monica Roth Day and Dr. Caitlin Mahoney.
Well, hello, friends. Welcome back to part two of our podcast, where we are talking about embedding career essentials within academics. And I am so excited to have this part two conversation because if you haven't listened to part one, it is amazing. So Monica and I were just saying, oh my gosh, we were so nervous to listen to it. And then we finally did, and it was great. So you're in for a treat to listen to that. And if you're tuning in to the podcast today, I'm going to let my guests introduce themselves, and then we're going to hop into the discussion today that I think you all will find essentially valuable. So, Monica, if you can introduce yourself, name, how long you've been in your role, and a little something special about yourself would be great.
Sure, sure. So I'm Monica Rothday. I'm an associate professor in the social work program at Metro State University, and I'm the immediate past career readiness faculty director for this project. And I've been in higher education over 20 years, which is wild.
Awesome. Caitlin.
I am Caitlin Mahoney. I am a full professor of psychology at Metro State. I've been here in Minnesota for 15 years. I'm originally from upstate New York. I've been in academia probably longer, maybe closer to 20 years. And in kind of how I relate to this process, I've been a part of the faculty work group on career readiness since maybe 2022. I'm currently working as a career readiness fellow for our Center for Educational Innovation, which does faculty professional development in teaching and learning at Metro State. And I'm positioned to be the new co-chair of our career readiness fellows cohort that will launch in the spring and summer of next year.
Awesome. Thank you both for those introductions. And I said this before on the previous podcast, I'll say it again. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to folks that have double digits in the field. I think that speaks to a wealth of experience. So we are in for a treat today. I'm just going to ask some really great questions that I think are very practical and have great application for listeners. And so I'm going to say, hey, Monica, Caitlin, take it whoever you feels like you can speak best to the question, and we'll go from there.
Will you soon be searching for your next career services leader? At the Career Leadership Collective, we focus exclusively on executive searches for career services leaders, and our network is second to none. We've helped place transformational career leaders at elite liberal arts schools, large Research One institutions, top 50 ranked schools, business colleges, mid-major schools, Jesuit institutions, and many more. Our annual leadership development cohorts enable us to leverage our nationwide network and quickly deliver high-quality candidate pools. If you're in a transition and ready to bring in a leader who can elevate your career ecosystem, let's talk so you can benefit from our network of the most innovative, trusted leaders in the field. Visit us today at careerleadershipcollective.com/search or email us at search@careerleadershipcollective.com.
So, my first question is, can you share a specific example of collaborating with the Career Center and how you integrated career readiness into a particular piece of your curriculum, classroom, etc.?
You bet. So prior to starting this project, I worked with Career Center staff to embed career management activities into the senior social work capstone. So this is the final course they take before they graduate, and they begin working in the field. And so it was wonderful, right? They came in, they did some career management activities, learning about resumes, negotiating salaries, doing interviews, like all of those nuts and bolts activities that we think about as students are starting, like they're looking for a job and starting their careers. And in that moment, I realized how much I needed to update myself. So as we were coming into the career readiness faculty work group, we were not just talking about students, but we were also talking about ourselves and our own career trajectories. And for those of us, yes, who are seasoned professionals, right, and been in higher education for a while, we haven't had to write a resume for quite a bit. And in academics, it's really different, right? We have CVs rather than resumes. And learning that now, really resumes are one page. And the use of AI as a application tool, both for the applicant and for the employer, I was learning all of these things in that collaboration with the career center staff. That then, as I'm moving along into the career readiness work group, it was a real aha moment, and we had some of those conversations in the work group. So when we think about those collaborations with the Career Center, I really want to encourage people that it's not just about students. It's about our own career management and our own career growth and how then we relate that back to our students.
Yeah, that's well said. It's almost looking at career development holistically for the campus, not just for students, but also
Absolutely.
for faculty. So I think that's a great point. Can I follow that up, Monica, with you maybe sharing how, and I know this is a tricky question, but just if you can answer it as best you can, how do you know the integration of career development is actually working in
Oh,
on the academic side of the house?
oh yeah. The difference in how students' confidence, how they talk about their education, how they prepare for a job application, both in terms of the resume and the interview questions. So I actually took the collaboration with the Career Center and began to embed I'm also the internship director for social work. And so now students are required to do a resume as they're planning for their senior internship. And so really highlighting what's needed on that, like they have so much more confidence going into an internship interview, and they're able to very concretely talk about their own experiences, both their personal experiences and their lived experiences and their work for that internship interview. And then it means a whole different trajectory as they're applying for that first job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Well said. Well, I'm curious, and maybe Caitlin, you can speak to this. There are all these misconceptions and myths about how difficult it can be to get faculty buy-in or involvement when it comes to embedding and integrating career within the academic side of the house. And so I'm just curious, what's a carrot or what is a way that you were able to get faculty to be engaged within this initiative?
Yeah, I mean, I can say for myself, the school had funding and I was curious. And I think if you allow faculty time and you're willing to compensate them for that time, they're curious people. And certainly at Metro State, we're excited about improving our ability to sort of like educate and help people along in their journey. And so it was a no-brainer, as you say, like, and it's been fun.
That's awesome to hear. Fun. We always love if it's fun, right? That's
Yeah,
great.
I do think there's something to the built community that makes it a more motivating and engaging process than other sorts of teaching and learning opportunities that I've participated in.
Yeah, that's great to hear. I'm wondering too if Monica and Caitlin, you can share a little bit about what faculty can do to kind of have the small wins. Sometimes I think we get lost in thinking we have to change everything and overhaul all of our curriculum. But do you have any insights on what small but powerful changes can that faculty can make in order to really integrate career within their work that they're doing when they're working with students?
You bet. So as a result of the work that I did with the work group and as the faculty director, I'm back 100% teaching. And so I've been embedding it in my classes. And the difference a few reflection questions make. At the beginning of the semester in my practice one class, I asked students to map some of the content in the syllabus to a job description. So they found a job description, a social work job, and I asked a few reflection questions of like, how does this content relate? What are the specificities, and the importance of this course in your career development? Oh my gosh, I was blown away. And it was amazing to read, right? And it's just a couple of questions in a discussion post. That's it, right? Nothing major, no additional work on my part. And then I asked them some similar questions for midterm for reflection, particularly related to a major assignment they just submitted. Again, blown away.
Mm,
And the thought, and I can see it even now in their faces and how they're talking about like their own social work skills. So they're identifying that this is part of their career journey.
mm,
It's not just academics, but they're in it, as a developing social worker, as an emerging social worker.
mhm,
So they're not they're not separating out academics to career. There's much more integration.
that's awesome.
And just a few reflection questions.
I'll maybe piggyback on that, right? We had a career readiness fellows cohort that went through our training and really a facilitated training where it got them sort of to do the thought work for themselves, and they created what I think of as like artifacts, teaching artifacts that can serve as examples for other faculty, so that now when faculty say, well, I sort of get what you're talking about, can you show me what some folks have done? We have online in our the LMS system, some examples in different fields. So sometimes it helps people to think outside their field. Sometimes it helps people to think inside their field because they don't think of their field as a career field. to see sort of some of the things that people have done, and they're really small. My favorite part of the small ones, right? So sometimes it's rethinking your learning objectives on your syllabus so that they include career relevant language and drawing students' attention to that. Like at base, that's maybe all you have to do the first time around. It might be tweaking the directions on your assignments so that students better understand why they're being asked to do what they're being asked to do. And we know from the science of teaching and learning that rendering things meaningful, particularly as they relate to people's lives, and I think always, especially if it relates to a part of a person's life where they have uncertainty or anxiety, they're more likely to pay attention. Um, Sometimes it's in these single question items that Monica has suggested where you're really just asking them to think about it once, but it's maybe the first time that somebody's asked them to think about it or to go look at a job posting. Um, and I also like sort of the examples that expand things beyond career management. I think many faculty think of career readiness as career management. So what will my career be? What are the tools that I need to learn about that career and to position myself as a good candidate for that career? But our career skills also include things like communication and ethical decision making and digital technology. Um, and these are all skills that other of my colleagues are doing every day as just simply part of the content of what they teach. So not having to change what you teach, not even having to include a career discovery assignment, but rather to say, hey, you're learning to do this thing, and this can help you in your future life beyond the walls of this university, whether that's applying it to a job, a career, or simply sort of like informed citizenship, right? Being an active participant in your world. Um, and we're all giving feedback all the time, right, on all kinds of assignments. So to the extent that we help students to identify their strengths and areas for growth, that's a form of career development, right? That's a part of career management and self-development, but it's also modeling feedback, which is a sort of professional communication. How do we respectfully communicate with the people that we work with so that we can grow things beyond our capacity at present? Um, and then there's ways that, you can bring it into your classroom, I think, in terms of wider feedback. So if you only want to do it once, you read everybody's assignments and you come in once and you say, here's 10 different careers that you came up with, and here's what I think about those. So sort of leveraging our time in more efficient ways to do this thing just once. And I think every time I teach a course, I try to do something a little bit more or a little bit different. And I think we're all doing that anyway, right? So whether this career thing is the thing you want to tweak is sort of owing to personal curiosity and the extent to which you feel it sort of imperative to help people with sort of the uncertainty and anxiety of the times. But it sure doesn't have to be big. And we're all already doing it if you look at sort of what our career competencies are.
Yeah, and I can appreciate so much that you're addressing the layer of anxiety that comes with a lack of clarity for students and their career path and their future endeavors. And I think that if you can address that, the my goodness, right? What will open up in a student's mind to be able to think straight and build confidence when they have that clarity, I think is amazing. And research shows the Gallup 6 actually, they released that about 90% of students think about their careers all the time. And when they go to faculty, about 50% of them get their questions answered. And so, right, when we're thinking about that anxiety, whew, we can really do a lot of great work in that space, addressing what students are most worried about. Um, Question for you both. How do you keep faculty enthusiastic about this work?
Did we mention funding?
I was going to say, you have to speak. They can't see your faces, and I wish
Yeah.
that they could have,
Um,
but
I, right. Funding is critical. I think, particularly with our community or adjunct faculty, right? Giving them, providing them with a credit load to do the fellows program is crucial because it creates space in their lives so they don't have to do other things to earn income. The community for me, like I think about it just keeps coming back to community and conversations. Energy is shared.
Yeah, and I do think right now in education is a particular point in time where things feel pretty unstable and pretty alienating. And so having a dedicated space to connect with people about how to, well, like just to acknowledge that things are tough, but then also to sort of creatively problem solve, how to be a part of some of the solution to that for our students, but also for each other is it's motivating at a time where it's hard to find motivation, I think.
Yeah, I think about some of my top leaders. I think about Martin Luther King and movements and all that stuff. There was no tangible gain all the time, but the community piece was what struck the movement. And so I think that you all highlighting that is at the heartbeat of this work. So I think that's really great. One of my last questions, I'm just kind of curious about. So I have two more questions. One, I'm interested in myself, and then two, this is going to be, I mean, both will be helpful for our listeners, but I just, if you could spend maybe 30 seconds, and Monica, you kind of already talked about this a little bit, but feel free to add any additional thoughts you have on it. I'm always curious of the aha moment that faculty have of, oh, I need to do more career development or have more career conversations. This is key. I'm just curious when that aha moment happened for you both.
Well, my aha moment happened, I think, a while ago. So I mentioned I've been in higher ed for 20 years, but in social work, right, there's a real connection with our agencies because they do internships. And I've been internship directors at a couple of different universities over the years. And it's that moment that you're like, I'm talking with a field instructor who says, wow, the student is amazing at this. And here's how they're already implementing their skills and we're going to hire them for our position because they're so ready for that job. And it's that moment of like, oh, okay. And that connects with to the coursework and the content that they're learning. And yet in the same moment, the student doesn't necessarily see that connection. They don't understand how important all of that coursework is to where they've gotten. And on the flip side too, it's learning, it's really keeping track of the industry. Social work, great careers. But we go through a lot of changes with funding, particularly with nonprofits, but also with counties and tribes and other organizations. And so really staying current with that and like, oh wow, that's a big change. I mean, the use of AI in social work practice. Wow, okay, I've got to stay current on that. What does that look like in practice? And am I educating, are we educating students for that job when they're using it?
Yeah, I think for me, I don't know if I could locate it in one point, right? I'd say there's maybe three or four points where my thinking shifted. It's always been clear to me that um, especially even as a student, I can remember back being an undergrad and leaving my undergraduate institution and not really understanding what jobs were possible with my degree or knowing how to get a job without going to the career center. Um, so it's clear to me that that education is necessary. As a faculty member, I'm not sure I knew how to serve that goal, right? Because it seemed like career development, career management was something that happened in the career center. So when I was given the opportunity to participate in this career readiness initiative, for lack of a better word, I think the first light bulb goes off in terms of this career readiness being something that I already do, right? I'm already helping them to think about critical thinking, to practice critical thinking, to practice communicating their ideas. And so it becomes about changing sort of my orientation toward communicating the value of what they're learning. So not just that what they're learning is for careers. I think many faculty would be sort of put off by that idea, but that it is also for careers and other outcomes beyond college. And then I think like personally, when I got into thinking about how I do this for my students, in terms of changing small things like syllabus statements or the feedback that I give to sort of reflect the language of these skills so that it becomes familiar to them. I realized that sort of like one of my key courses is really a course in career management. So it's a course I've been teaching because I'm a social psychologist. My special focus is in emotions and in peace and conflict, respectively. And I'm teaching courses on peace and conflict and on emotions. And speaking to students who are engaged in their community, and it occurred to me that I'm not sure I'm doing the best job at framing how this research-based information that they're learning can serve them in their lives, to manage their feelings in relationship to their work, to help them identify their strengths and their values and how those might relate to their goals to produce more sustainable work life, particularly in regards to sort of like burnout prevention. And so I'm teaching the same content that I've always taught, but I think the way that I frame it is a little bit different. And I feel like many faculty will come to that sort of aha moment if they sit down and think about, well, if what I'm already teaching is a life skill, is a career skill, what is the outcome of that content?
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. So here's my last question. If you can take about 30 seconds to answer it, we like asking this question at the collective. So, in an ideal scenario, how do you believe your institution and others can help career integration into academics be the most strategic?
Okay, in 30 seconds, let's see, Monique.
I believe in you.
I really encourage people to ensure that the entire campus is as involved as possible. We've had conversations about how it's oftentimes like Career Center does this. I think, and where are the faculty in that process? And maybe they're sending students to the Career Center for like resume development and some basic things. The Career Center certainly has a great deal to offer, but at least ours is a very small staff. That community is both faculty and I think about teaching across the campus. Teaching happens inside and outside of a classroom. And so that's ensuring that student life, that the Career Center, that faculty who do teach classes, that they're all involved and a part of that community.
Yeah, well said. Caitlin.
Yeah, I would say I'm going to take a page from my colleague Jose Santos, who's going to help me direct the Career Fellows cohort in the spring and in the summer. And he told me that schools are often coming up with different paradigms for what should be taught and how it should be taught, and it can feel like a new sort of paradigm or technique every year. But I think really rather than requiring faculty to do something or encouraging faculty to do something on their already thin time, right? That the real magic happens when you can support faculty to do the thing you'd like them to do, and to allow them the time, the space, and the sort of reward to do that thing joyfully rather than to feel compelled to do it. And I think that's a really kind of astute way of thinking about sort of the challenge of these paradigm shifts. Is I think faculty want to learn. They're curious. They want to help their students. And if they feel supported to do that, there's almost nothing they wouldn't do.
Oh my
Also
goodness.
agree.
Yeah, so much great information. And I cannot thank you all enough for hopping on the mic and having this amazing conversation with me. I appreciate it and can't wait to hopefully talk again in the future. Take care.
Sounds great, Monique. Thanks.
Yes, this is where it's all headed. This, that last statement by Caitlin, fantastic. That's right. The day where career centers powering an empowered ecosystem can say, let's figure out how to provide faculty with the support to make their lives easier, to give them the chance to be curious. I love, love, love this. What was just painted here, it really is a true picture of the career ecosystem era. So well done to our friends at Metro State, and well done, Monique Frost. Looking forward to continuing this conversation. Well, you can catch all the episodes and subscribe to the podcast and our newsletter at careerleadershipcollective.com/podcast. As always, if you've not yet ordered the book, The Career Ecosystem Era in Higher Education, we encourage you to do so. And send us your questions, thoughts on what's working in your career ecosystem, challenges you'd like us to address to podcast@careerleadershipcollective.com. We are building a new era together. Bye for now.